Hey folks, this is John Miller, Executive Editor with WB News. We would like to welcome you to Ask the Experts, featuring John Halterman of Beacon Wealth Management. John is the founder, owner, and certified wealth strategist at Beacon Wealth Management. You can find out more at bwmwb.com. And now live from the studios of the Exponent Telegram in Clarksburg, West Virginia, let's Ask the Expert. Welcome to Ask the Expert. Today we're joined by John Halterman of Beacon Wealth Management. Welcome, John.
Thank you, John. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I tell you what, a lot of chaos right now, a lot of turmoil with federal workers. They're not really sure what's going on. You know, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What's your advice?
Well, you know what? There's no doubt about it. Chaos is everywhere when it comes to federal employees. I mean, we're getting calls. We're getting calls every single day, weekends, everything, because people are scared. They don't know whether their job's going to be eliminated. They don't know if the offer they're getting is valid. They don't know anything. And so, definitely the thing we're trying to tell people right now is that if you're considering leaving, you got to do like anybody else. You got to say, do I have the financial freedom to be able to leave? And financial freedom is really about sitting down and saying, okay, let's do an assessment. Let's figure out exactly how much money you need to live on, because that's where it all starts. It starts about lifestyle, because if you can't cover your lifestyle, well, it doesn't make sense to retire or leave or whatever. So we got to first figure out, exactly what lifestyle you need to cover, and then where you're getting the money from. For a lot of these people, they obviously have their pension. They have their TSP. And of course, some of them may even have Social Security. But they got to figure out, between everything that they have in resources, is it enough to create an income that covers the lifestyle that they desire if they leave? And so I think that's step one is let's talk. Let's do that assessment to see, do you have the financial freedom, to be able to walk away?
One of those things that probably, as we are sitting here talking about it, the thing that strikes me, you mentioned, they have retirement, they're being offered some money to probably walk away, but also because most of them are younger than 65, you also have the issue of health benefits and things like that. So that also has to be factored in.
Oh, absolutely. Because, and I will say they have good retirement health insurance, and some of them have spouses, unlike a person where they're the main breadwinner and they cancel their health insurance. Obviously, if you have to pay for full health insurance, that's a big, big problem. But at least with the FBI, they're going to have some form, or not just FBI, I'm sorry, federal employees, they have an option to keep health insurance afterwards. Now, the big thing also is, where's their income? Because some of them are not going to be Social Security age. And so they got to look and say that, hey, look, number one, how much is my pension giving me? And what buyout will I actually take? Because you do actually have options. It's not just the full buyout. You could have a spousal benefit buyout. There are, the supplement, because if you're over a certain age, let's say 57, but you're not quite 62, well, some of those people will qualify for a supplement that will give them the equivalent of what Social Security would have given them during that time period. And then others, you have to factor in, my TSP, because a lot of times you might have this big, big amount of money, but you don't know how to convert that to an income. And because that's a key to that, because now instead of putting in, you're actually taking out. And so you got to figure out, okay, how much income can that do? And you got to make sure that income that comes out of that TSP, well, it's got to continue growing and at the same time provide you the stability to support that lifestyle.
So one of the big things I'm hearing is the fact that like other people getting close to retirement, this is just hitting them more sudden.
Sure.
And more abrupt. So that adds to the nervousness and everything. But it's really crucial. What I'm hearing from you is it's really crucial. Let's pause. Let's sit down. Let's talk about it. Let's look at the numbers and look at what the facts are.
Absolutely. It's all about the numbers. That's exactly what it is. Because, and I tell you, people all the time when they're calling me, they're like, hey, should I just retire? And I'm like, did you look at the numbers? They'll go, what do you mean numbers? And they say, I know we get this money until September. And I said, well, that's one number. But I said, but we really need to look at all the numbers, because after September, what do? And so you have to look at, what number do I need and where's it coming from? And then what am I going to do with these various forms of benefits I have, whether it's the TSP, whether it's picking the right pension option, whether it's, do I just keep my life insurance, or do I look at other, long-term care? lots and lots of decisions that have to be made. But you're right. It's the same decision that anybody would normally have to make, but now it's under emotional chaos. It's under a stressful condition. So for people, there's a heck of a lot more urgency. And because of the emotional stress, it's also kind of making them, not really, I shouldn't say not pay attention, but it's rushing them. It's emotionally putting stress on them. And so they just really need to take a deep breath and say, okay, if I don't know these answers, John Halterman and his team will help me figure out these type of answers.
I think that's absolutely critical. What people that are in this situation need to realize is that they shouldn't try to go it alone. They really need to talk to somebody with some expert opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
That understands.
Yeah, I mean, it's no different on heart surgery. I mean, you would never whip out your kitchen knife and say, you know what, I think I'll do bypass on myself. No, it makes no sense. I mean, this is something that people do once, hopefully, in their lifetime. Retirement's a big deal. And so you can't take what you've been doing, planning potentially for 30 and 40 years, and all of a sudden that because there's chaos, you're just going to make these haste decisions. No, it's this, if you don't have an expert, or even if you do have an expert, it's even time to get second opinions, because the reality of it is, like, everybody who I've been talking to, most of them already have some form of professional. But the difference is they don't have a professional team that's putting it all together. Like, they might have someone who did some investments for them, or they might have someone who did some insurance for them. They might have whatever, but they don't know how all of that works harmoniously together to support that lifestyle. And also, you got to be thinking about legacy, because the one thing that people fail to realize is the TSP, for a lot of them, it's never been taxed. And so because it's never been taxed, it's a big tax bomb. You got to be thinking, okay, if something happens to me, or when something happens to me, how does my family get this in the most tax advantageous manner?
To wrap up, John, I mean, there's a lot going on. So, what 3 things you want to tell federal workers right now to help calm them and get them focused where they need to be?
Sure. Well, I think number one, you got to contact us. You got to contact us, get on our schedule. We're going to do a full assessment for you. We're going to figure out exactly, where you're at, what you're wanting to accomplish, take all the necessary steps to understand you. Then we're going to go through and we're going to do all the analysis, the assessment. We're going to identify any potential issues, any missed opportunities, and then we're going to come back and we're going to spell out an exact recommendation that we believe is appropriate for your situation. So what's going to end up happening is they're going to feel very confident, because now, instead of being in chaos and not knowing where to go, we're going to eliminate that by giving them a strategy. And that strategy is going to make them feel good so that they can transition smoothly from the chaos to more now an enjoyable retirement or to another job, whichever way. But yeah, those things right there, we feel very good about.
So it may be a tense time, a chaotic time, and they may need to act quickly to a degree, but at the same time, I think quickly and intelligently can be combined, and they really need to sit down and talk.
The sooner, the better. I mean, the one thing I would say is don't put it off. I mean, you have time on your side right now, and I always tell anybody who's getting ready to retire or going through something like this is that the more time we have, 3-6 months away, that we have everything in place, the smoother the transition. Because ultimately what I want them to be able to do is go from being on federal payroll to being able to go into their life and being able to have the same lifestyle or better with no hiccups whatsoever. And so that's the ultimate goal, is that transition's got to be smooth for them.
Well, I'll tell you what, John Halterman, always a wealth of advice. Beacon Wealth Management, give them a call today. John, thanks for joining us here on Ask the Expert.